In this episode, I sit down with Ben Cardall from Omniscient Insights, where we talk about cognitive empathy, which is a powerful way of controlling your emotions without being overpowering, still being compassionate. Ben talks about how emotional burnout happens, how men seem to get empathy confused with weakness, and how true masculinity is about standing firm in your awareness rather than chasing status or hierarchy. Ben, I would like to talk about cognitive empathy and
Let's
your
do it.
thinking on it, your stance on it, and how it would relate to the listeners that I have that are mostly men who are trying to become just better versions of themselves. They're on the warrior path. They want to be stronger, fitter, healthier mentally, emotionally, physically, all that jazz. Take it away.
It's my time now. No, the it's when it comes to empathy and emotion, it's largely a misunderstood concept, just in my personal opinion. In that, in order to empathize and therefore understand somebody else, you have to feel parts of what their journey is or what they've gone through, which has a lot of psychological downsides in terms of burnout and just lowered energy, lowered mental state. Just a lack of enthusiasm because you've spent the whole day just emoting. It's a large cognitive load to bear. The whole notion of trying to develop control over one's emotions seems to have had that impression of you spend all day feeling or you're ice cold, and then you spend all day feeling, and then you're so detached and don't feel anything, and like it's this on switch that we have. And when we're not robots, much as we would benefit from the ease of living like a robot at times, we aren't. So the notion of cognitive empathy is more about putting understanding first, and separating that from the emotive constructs that might affect your ability to think. It's not to say that you have to quieten your opinions down or get rid of them altogether or just be open to everything. It's just to understand the situations that require emotive input and the situations that don't. In that vein, we are building more resilience as part of our character. But not only that, when you look at the studies around empathy, and I'm being very semantic just to put cards on the table, it largely boils down to empathy as a driver for social bonding, and teamwork dynamics, and longevity of family, etc., etc. Cognitive empathy does that too, but without the downside of emotional burnout, because the empathic nature is from thinking first, from understanding first. It's the practice of the virtue of compassion. Like I could say wholeheartedly, I understand racism. I don't have to agree with it. It can still enrage me. It can still enrage me. It can still be a futile, pointless position to have, but it's one that I understand, and that's the notion of cognitive empathy in a nutshell. And it kind of springboards off people misunderstanding stoicism. In that, a lot of the Stoics of old would speak about this notion of control, and Epictetus is speaking about the notion of offense. Your own mind is complicit in the offense. You have your own decision around your actions, all these kinds of things. And it's been misunderstood that in order to maintain control, you need to be separate from. Where cognitive empathy is more about not having a switch but having a dial. So
A
I
dimmer
can
switch, even.
well, a dimmer switch is a dial, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
Turns out I already interrupted you. Um, it's almost sounds like what you're talking about is more self-awareness and more self-control in the conversation than because when I used to do just the coaching for anxiety and things like that, they would say stuff to me and then I would try to move them out of the point, and they would go, "You don't understand what it's like. You've no empathy." And I'm like, "I don't understand what it's like because I haven't lived your life. I did have empathy for you,
that I'm not going to come down into that hole with you and sit there. I'm still at the top trying to give you the ladder and say, this is the ladder, climb yourself out. So people used to would accuse me of having no empathy at times. And I used to think it's more, I have more logic, more self control, and I'm emotionally balanced
Yeah.
rather than it's why I noticed that we've talked about this before when after my dad passed and I went through a bit of anxiety, how easy it is to stay in anxiety because the people around you
Mm.
have anxiety. So then they go, come here to see if we all just hide in this we hidey hole together. And I'm like, I'm gonna climb out. And they're like, no, it's dangerous out there. So like, you keep getting pulled back by empathy, people being empathetic to to your situation, but not actually trying to free you. So if I was someone listening to this now and I thought, fuck, I'm the latter when I'm empathetic and I get sucked into it. And then that's why my friends actually don't go anywhere with the information I give them, or we don't actually solve any problems. We just talk for ages and then we're a listening ear. Like a listening ear is fine, but if the person needs to make changes, I don't think a listening ear is overly useful then. So why would you say to someone that wanted to make that shift from the empathy we're taught to the
Yeah.
empathy you're teaching?
It's to answer a question in your head that would be your own version of, do I have to prove that I care? Because that's all that empathy is built around. Again, just in my opinion, it's why do I have to prove to you that I care, or why do I have to prove to myself that I care? Right? Me trying to help and offer insight, or try this or try this. I'm caring. Why do you need me to feel that? Answer that question, and it's a difficult question. It's a difficult question to answer, but once you have one, that is information that you can kind of separate those sticky feelings from, in order to try and effect some change around it, whatever the topic is, you know. And so that's what I would start there. Start there. Does the situation require that I prove I care, or can my actions show that I
Yeah.
care?
And generally your actions, like I'm a big believer in actions over words. So if you are showing up and you are asking them questions and you are being supportive, that is care. So I don't know if you would believe this or it's just on my side. But I think that I should care and put forward as much effort as I believe I should, not as I think they think I should. So if I show up for you in my way, in my strength and my understanding of the situation, I shouldn't have to start doing more and more and more to prove to you, like you're just saying there, to prove I care. And I think
Yeah,
men get caught up in that, women as well, but because I'm mostly
yeah,
focused,
yeah,
direct
yeah.
everything at men. Um, they get caught up on I need to do more.
Mm.
I not only need to cook and prep and cook the dinner, I also need to clean everything after and make sure the house is like, look what I did here. But rather than just being, I think it's about we're back to self awareness a wee bit, but being comfortable in yourself
Yeah,
and your awareness. So how do I then start to, like, you're the observation guy. How do I start observing my behaviors and my reactions and then like control them without being controlling? Like, even that word control them, you always have to follow up with without being controlling. Um,
yeah, yeah.
controlling my,
Influential, you know.
yeah, controlling my emotional behavior to myself so that then I can stand in my own power and be who I am.
I, I think especially with men, it starts with, um, stop comparing yourself to other people or other situations or other things. Right? That's the falter of empathy. Again, in my opinion, wonderful book on the topic, Paul Bloom Against Empathy. A wonderful book. Um, it seems to kind of suggest the nature of hierarchy, in that if you feel something contradictory towards what the situation is pushing you to, it is weaker or you're less than. You know, I like you were saying, I'm not going to be dragged down into this hole. Otherwise, how can I help you? We're both on the same level there, and that might be what the other person wants because they feel weak or less than.
Yeah.
When that isn't the case. You know, you're just having a different experience to what you normally do. So the comparison element is something that I would stop doing. As very easy to say, very easy to say, but then you want to look at whatever the struggle is, and try and place it in a moment in time, because a lot of the continuation of problems that we have are because we're looking at them from some future date or some past date. You know, I feel what I'm feeling now because of this breakup, so I'm looking at the years that have just gone past, right? And I'm concerned about the future. Where are you now? Like I would be willing to bet that if you look at most problems, right? How am I going to make rent? What am I going to eat later? All of these kinds of base problems that we all have. The effect of them is in the future. So if your focus on them is tomorrow, the day after, next week, it means that now is going to affect that. So change now rather than worry too much about the effects on the future. Like we talk about how much work we do all day and all night, and it's very often spinning wheels. But if we were too focused on, you know, wanting to buy a boat or something or something ridiculous like that, and how far away that might be, it will affect our work here because there's no clear definition of when that boat is achievable. I can conquer a day, and then when tomorrow comes, I can conquer that too, and when tomorrow comes, I can conquer that too. So comparison and apply a bit of what's known as temporal reasoning. But it's just thinking about the problem in terms of its space in time. Am I concentrating too much in the past or in the present, rather in the past or in the future? And should I be more focused on what I'm doing now?
So is this something that you would check in with yourself? So as the day goes on, or would you like have a set time, like say Sunday night at 7 o'clock, to look at the week ahead? I'm going to check in. How often did I focus on the past, the future, present? What's am I doing? Or what's your trick for this, I suppose, if we're looking at a wee trick?
It's the personal nature of habits. So it depends on the kind of size of the issue that you're looking to tackle, right? So I mean, give me an example of a problem that we can kind of put on the table. Give me an example.
One of the ones that would come up often would be like say for example the meeting. I've got a big important meeting in a month that I need to prepare for, and then you meet them next week and they're like, this meeting's up in 3 weeks, I need to prepare. And I'm like, you keep saying need and you haven't done anything. And it's because they're remembering the past meetings and how they didn't come fully prepared and looked like a bollocks whenever they couldn't give their numbers right.
Yeah.
Or they're just focused on the actual future meeting because Ben's going to be at this meeting and Ben's a hard ass and it's going to be a nightmare. So that's
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So what we do in those situations, it's going to depend on the kind of busyness of your standard workday. Me being the kind of person I am, I'd like a daily check-in. I'd like a daily check-in when you come home and you hang your coat up and you put your keys on the table and you flick the kettle on, and that moment where you sit down and you go, ah, just to go, what did I do that prepares me for said meeting? Just be honest, right? Because nobody's around there going to go, you suck if you didn't do anything, or you're awesome if you did it all. No one's going to be around to do that. Just an honest take on how much you actually contributed towards the preparation for that today, because all of those daily answers to that are not only going to tackle how it is that you feel about the meeting and your preparation for it as well, but it's going to seed into you this notion of a daily commitment towards yourself, and the strength of maintaining presence and focus in a moment, because that's where work is done, right? I don't do press ups today because of what I'll be able to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, I do press ups today because I want to work out, because I need to work out. You
I
know,
was gonna say you
these.
can tell you worked out, but then you ruined it by saying you needed it. Well, I can't remember the name of it, but it's when a task will take as long as as long as the amount of time you've given for the task. So I like the idea of you're saying being honest and honestly checking in. So whenever you're sitting there and you honestly check in and you think to yourself, "Okay, I haven't done anything," you'll then bring yourself into the moment and go, "That's the third day in a row you said I haven't done anything." Like, and then habits, like we talked about it on your podcast. That everyone should go and listen to that because it was a great episode between the both of us. I think.
Oh, it's
um,
up to like 200,000 million views by now.
well, obviously, Bob's. Um, we talked about discipline over motivation, and that's what you it's it's discipline without, like, people always make discipline seem like it should hurt. You should be disciplined to go to the gym and get through the pain and everything, and disciplined to eat crappy food that's not crappy food, like chicken and rice and broccoli all the time. It's crap in your head because you want a McDonald's, really. Um, it should be painful, whereas discipline takes away pain. And if you're disciplined about that meeting, since we'll just stick with this analogy, by the time you're a week out from the meeting, you're gonna do a TED talk soon, and we've been talking about it.
Oh,
You are By the time the TED talk comes around, you'll know everything word for word because you've scripted it, you've planned it, you've practiced it, and then you continue to practice it. Whereas there'll be someone there and they'll say to you on the day, "Oh, I didn't really practice for this." And I think as a performer, I haven't performed in a while, but as a performer, I'll still claim that. I used to find it very insulting to the audience when people would say to me backstage, "I haven't even prepared anything." And I'd be like, I've said to numerous ones, if this was my show, I would kick you off it. Like, it's so disrespectful. But they're the one that stresses everybody else out that lets them, because we're back to empathy again. People, "Oh God, you didn't," and again, I'm a bit more blunt than most. In situations like that, I'd be like, it's fucking stupid empathy. It's a waste of your energy being empathetic to someone that sabotaged themselves and is now sabotaging you as well. So whenever you're sitting there and you do that, you're able to, like, because I know people from experience will question and go, "Well, but I'm still thinking about the future meeting," but it still brings you back into this moment now, and then you can plan. So when you
yeah.
do your habits, do you track your habits? Do you journal? What do you do with habits?
So I don't journal, because being the kind of person that I am, it requires sitting still, and I struggle with that. I struggle with it. Um, I prefer the kind of blunt and honest approach with myself. Like, if I am saying that I'm going to take down half an hour of preparation for the meeting, great. That's half an hour. The meeting's, yeah, it's in the future, cool. But your preparation's today. That's what I can do today. And so when it comes to the end of the day, and I go, okay, I didn't do that half an hour, that is the chance for my feelings to come out and go, you suck, you're a loser, it's only a half an hour in 24 hours. Schwarzenegger would be pissed at you. You know, these types of breakdowns. But where does the learning come from that? If I'm going to be honest with it, I can go, okay, I didn't do it. Why didn't I do it? Fix that problem. fix whatever that is, and do it. So my habits are, pun very much intended, born out of habit. I very much focus on doing and just being as honest with myself as possible. You know, if I struggle with a workout one day, it's maybe it's because I ate slovenly the day before, or I hadn't slept very well, or you know, it's been a while since I'd actually worked out for whatever reason. I'm not, I'm starting to sound like Rocky now. Don't start blaming this or that or this. It's just taking a bit of ownership and responsibility over the fact that, you know, you decided something else was more prevalent, and in the moment that might have felt okay, that might have felt like a reasonable decision, but you decided to make something else more prevalent than that. Okay, make a different decision tomorrow.
Yeah. I used to do it the wrong way. I'd be like, right, I'm gonna do 30 push-ups a day for 30 days just to get me build my habits. And then I'd get into bed and I'd lie down and I'd go, oh, you didn't do your push-ups. I just get out of bed and do it. Like, didn't matter what time of day it was, if I was alone in the bed or not, nothing mattered. I was like, you said you do it, fucking do it. And because of that, like my day starts when I wake up and when I go to sleep. It does not start 12 o'clock at the end of 12 o'clock. Mine's isn't the normal 24 hours. It's whatever time I'm going to bed is the end of my so that was the change I needed because of my lifestyle, and especially when I was gigging a lot. You wouldn't be getting home till like 1 or 2 in the morning, and then you're like, "Oh, I missed my meditation today." So then because I was feeling because of lifestyle, it was nothing I could do about the lifestyle, but I could change my attitude to my lifestyle and go, "Well, you just do it when you go home." So I kinda popped into my head whenever you were talking about that. Um, you're talking a lot about being honest with yourself, and I find men struggle with honesty with
Because
themselves.
of hierarchy.
Yeah. So it might seem like a wee bit of a segue, but it's all related. What is your take on the way men are taught to be men now because of social media, because of hierarchy, because of all the shit that's going on? And like we've both been martial artists a very long time.
Yeah, yeah.
So we we went through phases where you had to look up to people and try to
Mm,
emulate them, but
mm,
you were emulating a specific routine, a specific thing to get to a specific goal. But it
mm.
feels now like men are looking up to and emulating, in my opinion, the wrong people. My very correct opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. You know, and not putting any names in. These are people that sound like Blandrew Bate. Like what a
There- there's just
colossally
so many
misguided
like
individual.
there's so many like podcasts, people that they don't even live what they're talking about. Like people hate them, and like you hate the car. You're caught up with Joffrey. You hate Joffrey. Joffrey's a lovely guy in real life and had to quit because you fucking people can't disassociate reality from a fucking dragon flying over a man and a cat. Like so, like people. I'm just using him as an example because it's who
Yeah,
popped up.
yeah,
But people hated on him so much he quit,
yeah.
and you're like he was a fucking character. But so people can't even halftime register that's not a real person, that's a character when it's an actual TV show. So they're fucked when it comes to podcasts and social media where people play a character and they think, no, that's him, that's he is that person. And you're like, that's not at all. So how do how do you think men should navigate that? Or what's your thoughts on the masculinity problem that we have at the minute?
It's whether it's pushed by these colossal bellends, or by media because there are the likes and views and interaction behind it, and or not. I don't know. It might be both. It might just be a whole cycle of a term I learnt the other day: rage bait. It might be
Yeah, yeah, a bit,
a
yeah,
whole
yeah.
cycle of that. I don't know. So people then, I mean, just a kind of side note for a second about that. That's how pranks became a thing. It's just people pissing other people off and then getting paid for it, so they do it more. You know, I find the whole notion
Berserk,
of
yeah, wait.
honestly, it enrages me because, like, why do you, this proverbial you, why do you need someone to tell you how to be a good man? Like, just be one.
Well,
You know,
just to jump in there, I think I talk about this on one of my solo podcasts.
Mm,
Society and school and people are drumming it in you from a young age that like you should sit
boys
down.
don't cry,
Yeah,
man up,
all that
all
stuff.
that
So
bullshit.
when I think when you say like be a man, there's people listening to this going, well, what the fuck is it? Like, there's so much conversation online with all them because what is a woman became so
Is
popular.
oh fuck, oh my, that's a whole other can of worms. Okay, what is that? Fair question, right? Let me kind of answer that by asking you a question. If you look at the scope of films, and we've talked, we might have spoken about this before as well. So if you remember where I'm going, try and hide it from everyone else. In the scope of films, name some masculine characters.
The character or the actor?
Characters.
Character. Rocky obviously was pretty masculine. He was very dumb, but he was masculine. Rambo. Um, John Commando.
I mean, great examples, right? Great examples. Most people think of Rocky, Rambo, and Commando. And correct me if I'm wrong. Commando's the Schwarzenegger film, right? Yeah, yeah. Where he's carrying that ridiculously sized gun on the side of his shoulder. Yeah, anyway, so when the images of that come up, most people think about, all the fighting and the shooting and the killing and the muscles and the furrowed eyebrows and the boxing and the montages. Great. What about the motion, the moments of vulnerability?
Yeah.
What about the motions of thinking and planning and worrying? Like Commando, Arnie was after his daughter the
Yeah.
whole time. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah. Even
Rocky.
Rocky wanted to prove that he was worthy of love and get the girl that he
Exactly.
wanted. And then all the rest of Rockies was to prove to the people, to prove to his family. Like it was all, they
Exactly.
took Polly, even though Polly was useless and a dick most thing, it took him with it the whole time. Like,
Exactly.
yeah. and It's that awareness again. You're looking at the full, they even Total Recall. You remember this is
The, the
terrorists.
the one I go for the whole time is Leonidas in 300. That's the one I go to the whole time.
Yeah.
And people go like, yeah, that's because he's got his six pack out and the slow motion killing. And I'm like, no, it's in the moment when he is literally and metaphorically naked in front of his wife, worried about what he has to do, asking his partner, not his servant or the queen that owes him, his partner for advice, what he should do and how he should navigate it. That's fucking masculine right there. To be so comfortable to bear everything that's in here and have it be respected, reciprocated, and understood from someone else. That's masculine.
I like it. That is a great answer. And the even if you think then for the journey he would have had to go through to get to that position, not only just the ability to fight, but the like understanding of being human, interacting with like having a partner that actually equals him rather than like is below him or
Again, I'm gonna get fucking oh, sorry, bleep that one out. I'm gonna get angry in a minute. I saw the colossal bellend himself talking about a proverbial girlfriend or wife, partner, whatever, and when he brings his friends over, he wants her to come out and be like, "Can I get anyone anything to eat?" Now, on the surface, that's a wonderful scenario. On the surface, that's a family setting. But he then goes on to frame that as a matter of status, as elevating himself in front of his friends, as being top G. Right? That is fucking beyond ridiculous and I'm not just pandering in that particular situation, because Maddie, when anybody comes around here, she loves to play host. It's not connected to me whatsoever. She's just trying to make sure that everyone's fed, watered, and happy. What a wonderful quality that is in a human being. It's nothing to do with me, and it's fuck all to do with
it's not nothing to do with you. It's the environment that you have set up with your wife, Maddie.
But is it? She would do that anyway. Were I not there? She's done that anyway. Were I not there?
But that's what I'm saying. The space is so safe because of how comfortable you are together. Like, I've been around you are together, that she can just be herself.
Yeah.
She can do what she would do when you're there or not there. It's not like he's doing it again. It's back to a bit of rage baiting. All this stuff. It's why, like, when you're talking to people about social media, they'll say, "Why did that take off?" You're like, "Look what he said," or "Look what he wore." Look, like, why do people wear Trump hats all the time during unnecessary videos and stuff? It's because people are going to get up in arms about you wearing a Trump hat. So then people, like, even people in my country that have fucking nothing to do with it, are like, "Oh, I hate him," and you're like, you hate him. You hate a person you've never met in a country you've never been to. Why don't, instead of hating him, you just fucking look at your own life and see how you can improve it? Like, let him hear about your own life that you can actually change, rather than hating on something else. So the social media has a massive impact. And like, I was talking to a guy the other day. I have all of my apps, and I do a lot on social media. All of my apps have a timer, 20 minutes of use a day, and they die. And people tell me that's not enough. And you go, "Yeah, that was 3 apps. That's an hour a day. That's a fucking lot." And then you go and look at their digital wellness, and it's like, "You have spent 7 hours today on Facebook." And you're like, "What the fuck did you do or learn or anything?" So, what would you advise? Like, you have a million hobbies. Let's keep it to, like, would you have like 3 steps, say, for example, that somebody's just listening to this now and they're like, "Fuck, I don't even know where this." I probably am doing that, and I actually do watch a lot of those clips of podcasts, though, and they get me. Like, sometimes men are so robotic because of what they're taught, that they want to feel something, and watching a fucking douchebag talk shit, it's like watching a Tony Robbins. You feel you need to take the action, but most people just feel it and they go, "Yes, I felt good there," and then won't do anything about it. So, how do, like, you don't have to have 3, but just for an easy question, or...
Yeah, no, I get you. I get you. But again, it comes back to the problem of comparison and hierarchy, because that's mostly what social media and rage baiting and influencers are. You compare your life to theirs and see them as better or worse by default. You know, it's all dopamine. But anyway, for the question, first job is again, honesty, in terms of what you could change, not what you want to or what you need to change. Just go with what you could first. Like, if you're spending 7 hours on Facebook, you could cut that back. You could. That's the in. Then it becomes about how to do it, right? I'm kind of afraid of tech, in that the amount of technical difficulties that I have. So if I'm installing apps to do this I don't like that. Me, I have a little post-it note, and I'll just attach it to the inside. There you go. And I'll just attach it to the inside of my phone, so it's sticking out. So if I go past my time, like, say, I don't know, I've gone from 7 hours to 5, and then at the end of the day it says 5.5 hours, that little post-it note is there mocking me. It's mocking me and poking at me. All right, okay, I'm gonna do better tomorrow. you know. And so the three things that you can do are about three small steps to change. Doesn't have to be fucking massive steps whatsoever. I want to run a marathon, I'm going to do 26 miles. Okay, well, that starts with being comfortable doing one, and then comfortable doing two, and so on and so on and so on. It's the same thing with this. If you find that you are craving dopamine hits, whether that be from doom scrolling, rage baiting, and anything else in between. You know, it's known as a dopamine rebound effect. You'll find yourself crashing because, you know, on one level or another, dopamine's a drug.
Drugs are
So
bad.
drugs are bad. Okay, drugs are bad.
Yeah.
And so what I did is, because I was fond of doom scrolling, but I was fond of doom scrolling in the bath or doom scrolling on the toilet, you know, the standard places. But it was like, I'm getting nothing from it. Like, sure, that was a cute video of a dog. Sure, you know, Donald Trump's face is ridiculous. Sure, you know, all of these types of things, right? Fair enough. But it's doing nothing for me. It's adding nothing to my life. And the third step that I have, it's a higher number, but it's the final step that I have, is like, on average, you have, and this, I think it was an Eddie Murphy film, but it really stuck out at me. You, on average, you have 75 summers, 75 springs, 75 autumns, and 75 winters. How much of that finite amount of time do I
Hmm.
really want to give to something that's not helping me?
Yeah.
Well, so I found doom scrolling apps that teach you something. So I'm scrolling through these little bite-sized videos on, you know, like behavioral science or physics or philosophy or whatever it is. Even some topics I've no interest in, but they will kind of affect my ability to learn. So I'm getting something out of the experience. So that's kind of what I'd say. Look into what you could change. Acknowledge a little external element that will prompt you to make change, and then the third would be commit as best you can, because your time is finite.
Nice. I think we'll leave it on that note. That was a nice wee roundup. Where do people find you, Ben, if they want to follow your adventures?
Omniscient Insights is the base for my training. It's the same name for our school community as well. That's devoted to developing not only our mnemonic and memory capacities, but our capacities for rational thinking and logic problems and critical thinking, which again will form part of my TED talk. If you chart the kind of addiction to tech, you can almost match the same numbers that mirror a distinct lack of critical thinking and a distinct lack of emotional understanding. So that's kind of what we're developed in the way of Omniscient Insights.
I'll tag everything and everything, and then I'll get you back after the TED Talk. You can tell us how it went and
Amazing.
explain more about what you just you got everybody there at
Cool.
the
Sounds
last
good.
moment.
Thanks,
Thank you
mate.
very
Thanks for
much.
having me.
And for everyone listening, having a super awesome day that we get up to, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Bye.